Dude, sick Honda, bro.
Well, it's a fucking Acura, first of all.
What is next for this car? What am I gonna do next to this build? What else is there for me to do? I already canned the car. Car's painted. Everything cosmetically is done. What else do I need to do to this car? Well, it needs more horsepower. And it's cammed on stock heads, stock bottom end. Basically a stock motor just with stage 2 comp cams. Everything is stock about the motor. I don't even have a cold air intake. I don't have intake manifold, no throttle body, no throttle body plenum, no underdrive pulleys. None of that is done to this car. But should I do some of those things to this car? If I were to answer that question a few weeks ago, a couple months ago, I'd say no, I'm not going to do any of that because it'd be pointless. What would be the point of me doing all that when I'd be swapping the motor? Now, I have made plenty of videos explaining to you guys that I want to swap this motor. I've gotten a lot of feedback, actually. One thing being, and this is the thing that sticks out like a sore thumb, do not LS swap this car. I think I'm going to take your guys' advice, and I'm not going to do an LS swap on this car. The next thing I said I was going to do was a Coyote swap. I'm not going to Coyote swap this car either. I already have a Coyote. If I wanted to build a Coyote, I can build that, or I will get a Fox body in the future and Coyote swap that. The reason why I don't want to swap this motor anymore, one, I want to keep this car to its roots. This is a 2-valve. This is not a Cobra, so I'm not going to do a 4-valve, and I'm not going to make it a Cobra. I'm not going to do a Coyote because a Coyote is a new motor. I'm not going to do an LS because, well, this is a Ford. So what am I going to be doing to this car if I want to push power? And I'm not going to tell you guys that a 2-valve can make a ton of power. A stock bottom end stock head 2-valve, in fact, cannot make a ton of power. 450 horsepower is probably its limits, and that's probably it for that motor. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a 2-valve build. This is going to be pricey no matter what. Any build would be pricey, and I said an LS build would be probably the best budget, which probably would be the best bang for the buck, but I don't think that would be right to do to this car. If I want to do an LS build, I'll either get a Camaro, a Corvette, or maybe even an LS swap on a Fox body. Again, it's because I'm not attached to a Fox body yet, and things could change in the future regardless. But with this car, I want to keep it to its roots. This is a 2-valve. I want to make a freaking fast 2-valve. Now, how am I going to do that? Well, in order to make a ton of power regardless on one of these motors, boost, nitrous, that's pretty much it. I have said I'm going to spray this motor particularly, which is definitely going to happen. I can't spray too much because I don't really feel like blowing up the motor because I still want to drive the car until I figure out exactly what I want to do in terms of this block. That's what I want to get at. Either going to tear apart this block, rebuild it, forged bottom end, 4.6 liter. Could do a stroker kit. I don't know. I don't think I'm going to do a stroker kit. That's definitely a possibility. But I do want to get this block forged. What I'm probably going to do is I'm probably going to buy a short block for this car that's already forged pistons, etc. Now, with that being said, after I get that block, I'm probably not going to keep these heads. Could keep them, but I'm probably not going to because that's another weak link on these motors or engine is the heads. So I'm going to probably end up getting some trick flow heads on top of that. After I do all that, then the motor will be set up to put a lot of horsepower down, or at least a lot more horsepower than what these motors can hold from factory. I'm going to run it NA for a little bit because that will definitely break the bank doing all that. Since I already have nitrous, I'll be able to spray that motor and it'll be a reliably sprayed. Like, I'll actually be able to spray that motor and make a decent amount of power because that motor can handle the power. I am then going to do boost. Probably not going to turbo this car because that's not what I want to do to this car. That's just not the build I want for upcoming builds on a different car, or you have it, maybe I'll turbo it. I'm not going to turbo this. It's going to be a supercharged build. What kind of horsepower am I expecting, or what is my goal to reach with this car? Now, I would be happy with 550 horsepower to the wheels. I think that's plenty of horsepower. 550, and if I can push more, then I'll push more. But 550 horsepower to the wheels, I think would be plenty of horsepower, and it would be so cool to have a 2-valve making 550 horsepower. It'd be awesome. And it's just not as common as you would think. I've never seen one in person. I'm sure I could look them up on YouTube or Google and find a few. Don't get me wrong, but I've never seen one in person. And if I have one, then that would be insane to me. And plus, it would be original. You know, it'd just be so cool to do that. And I think a lot of you guys could probably agree. And I don't think a lot of you guys would hate on that because, one, it's not going to be a Chevy motor in this car. Two, I'm not swapping. Well, if I get a new short block, sure, I'm swapping motors, but it's not necessarily I wouldn't consider it a swap per se. It'd just be an upgrade. And I'm not saying I would definitely buy the short block, but I think that's probably what I would do unless I felt like completely just doing this block itself. But I think I'm just gonna buy that short block, save me some time. So since I'll be doing essentially building this motor, that means I can go and actually buy stuff for this motor that I previously wasn't going to buy. Like I could buy a drive shaft now, aluminum drive shaft for this car, which is something I've wanted for a while. But I thought, no, if I'm going to do an engine swap, I'm probably going to have to get a custom drive shaft. I'm going to have to wait on the drive shaft. I can now get an aluminum drive shaft, which is something I'm probably going to get very shortly. They're not that expensive, and it's something I want. And at 550 horsepower, an aluminum drive shaft will hold up. An intake, no matter what, I'm not a big believer in cold air intakes, but I do want to get a different throttle body, and it'd just be cool to dress it up just a little bit. And something to do to the car while I'm waiting, and they're not that expensive, so I could do basically what I would like to do: bigger throttle body plenum, and a colder intake to go with that. I think that would be a good idea. Let me know if you guys would like to see that, and I think that's something I'm probably going to do regardless. There will definitely be some more actual build or modification videos coming soon to this car. Now that I'm kind of leaning towards, and more than likely going to just build a 2-valve for this car. Going to go ahead and pop the hood, even though you guys have seen it plenty of times before. It's just really bare in here, and I don't want to go too flashy. There's a few things that could be done to make it just look a little bit better and clean it up just a tad bit. Maybe an intake. Would like to get a bigger throttle body and plenum. I would say underdrive pulleys, but I am probably not going to do underdrive pulleys. I am going to end up boosting the car. That would kind of be silly to do. A few things will be done to this car, and just show this car some love, because I actually really I enjoy messing with this car, and this is really the only car I can actually mess with. I mean, I don't really want to work and mess with the Coyote just because that is my daily, and I just don't want that car to be down, because you know how it is when you're working on cars. You start a project and it ends up taking, well, it says it'll take a couple hours, it ends up taking 10 hours or the next day, and I just don't want that car to be down until I end up getting something else or whatever. But no matter what, this car is definitely the main priority in terms of building something. And I know it's not built, but it will be. Money is a big factor, but hopefully soon I will be making more money. That is the goal in life, right? Money makes the world go round. So once I start making more money, for sure, this thing will be insane. Because this is really all I think about. I mean, if you're a car guy, you think about your car all the time, and I really always think about this. I think about, what am I going to do to this, whether it was the LS swap, whether it was a Coyote swap, or now keeping the 2-valve and just, you know, making it powerful and, you know, all that. I just really want this car to perform, and it'd just be really cool. It would kind of be the underdog if you think about it, and I think that's pretty cool. Just having a 2-valve pull up, and somebody in a, I don't know, say a Coyote, it's like, oh, that thing makes no power, blah blah blah, and you know, I go and race them and I beat them. Granted, I could lose because that Coyote could make more power, but again, it'd be cool because I won't be making that much less horsepower, hopefully. I don't know, guys. You guys leave a comment down below on if you guys agree, and I think most of you guys can probably agree with me somewhat, and I think you'll definitely agree when I say I'm not going to do an LS swap. I would say the majority of you guys will be very happy to hear I'm I'm not going to do an LS swap anymore as of right now. That's basically it. I just wanted to update you guys on what's going on with this car. I need to actually drive this car, first of all. No matter what, it's still a really fun car. I need to put fuel stabilizer in there because it does sit a lot, and it is starting to get cold out, as you can tell. So drain that gas, fill it up a little bit, fuel stabilizer, and I just need to keep running fuel stabilizer in there pretty much for the rest of its life because I don't drive it enough. And that's also another thing that's not good for your car. Not driving your car enough, things sit, things corrode. It's just not very good for your car. And I know this. That's just something I have to live with and deal with. So if something does happen, it's gonna come out of my pocket, guys, and I know this already. So I just want to thank you guys so much for being a part of this, and if you guys are new to the channel, hit that subscribe button and hit that bell for post notifications so you know when I am going to be posting content about this car, about my other car. You have it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Give this video a big thumbs up because I'm going to be doing some big things to this car in the future. That would be really appreciated. Without further ado, guys, thank you guys for watching, and keep on keeping on. Peace out, guys.